In our musical system, an octave is divided in 12 equal intervals, so we have 12 notes per octave. And in the most used scales, including major and minor, there are 7 of those notes. The name of these scales will then depend on 2 things: the fundamental, the first note of the scale, and the way the note is spaced throughout the octave. Let's take the scale of C major, for example. It's easy, it's only the white keys of a piano keyboard. So C is the root key of the scale, the note that feels like home, and major is defined by the sequence of intervals from the root key. So in this case of C major, the first interval is from C to D. That's 2 semitones, so 1 tone. The next interval between D and E is also 2 semitones, so 1 tone. Then 1 semitone between E and F, 1 tone between F and G, 1 tone between G and A, 1 tone between A and B, and there's 1 last semitone to go back to C. So the major scale is defined by the sequence of interval 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone. And this is something we can transpose to any tonality to have any major scale. So if I want the major scale of G, for instance, it goes G, 1 tone A, 1 tone B, 1 semitone C, 1 tone D, 1 tone E, 1 tone F sharp, then 1 semitone back to G, which is the scale we ended up with in the video on consonances and dissonances. The C major scale works because we define C as our home note, but every major scale has a relative minor scale. This is another scale that would be minor, but will use exactly the same notes. So the only difference between a major scale and its relative minor is the fundamental note that we call home, that feels like home. The relative minor scale of a major scale is the one that takes its 6th note as a fundamental. So for the C major scale, for example, the relative minor scale is A minor. Taking the exact same notes from the C major scale, that makes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's the A minor scale. Once again, this minor scale is defined by the sequence of intervals that build it. So the first interval is from A to B, that is 1 tone, then from B to C is 1 semitone, C to D is 1 tone, D to E is 1 tone, E to F is 1 semitone, F to G is 1 tone, and G back to A is 1 tone. So the sequence that defines a minor scale is 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone. And we can also transpose that to any tonality, to have any minor scale. So as an example, let's make the minor scale of E. It goes E, 1 tone F sharp, 1 semitone G, 1 tone A, 1 tone B, 1 semitone C, 1 tone D, and 1 tone back to E. And this is the relative minor of the G major scale. They use exactly the same notes. In the same fashion, from a major scale, we can take any note as a fundamental, as our home note. And then we start building a whole bunch of new scales. And this is what we call modes. Starting with the C major scale, the C major scale is actually called the Ionian mode, or mode of C. The scale that uses the same notes but starting from D is called the Dorian mode, or mode of D. The scale that uses the same notes but starting from E is called the Phrygian mode, or mode of E, and then the mode of F is called the Lydian mode. The mode of G is called the Mixolydian mode. The mode of A is called Aeolian mode, that's the minor scale. And the mode of B is called the Locrian mode. As any scales, these modes are defined by the suite of intervals that build them, so they can be built from any root note. For example, if I want the Lydian scale of G, we'll start with a G and then we'll follow the sequence of the Lydian scale, which is 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 semitone. That makes the scale G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. That's the Lydian G scale. It exists other scales that are a bit more exotic, which are not made from the same sequence than the major scale. Just to name a few, there is the acoustic or Lydian dominant scale, which goes 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 tone, 1 half tone, 1 tone, 1 half tone, 1 tone. Or the Byzantine scale, that goes 1 semitone, 1 tone and a half, 1 semitone, 1 whole tone, 1 semitone, 1 tone and a half, and 1 semitone. There are also less harmonic scales like Messiaen's tone-semitone scale, which follow the sequence tone, semitone, tone, semitone, tone, semitone, etc. But we may see these exotic scales more in details in other videos. First, we'll see how chords are made and how to find each chord of each tonality. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.